What's happening, chaps and chapesses? Chris from SG Cleaning Wins the File course once again, and I wanted to do a quick video today, talk to people about systems. So I hear people talk about how, they've come up against a problem and they sort of say, how do you get around that? And a common one that I've mentioned in the past is things like customers skipping jobs, customers, leaving gates locked, dog shit being left in people's gardens and stuff like that, or just general shithousery, to be honest with you. And the thing is we've created these systems in our business, and the reason that we've done it is because we've come up against a problem and we don't want to go through it necessarily again, or we want to mitigate the impact of that thing going wrong on the business. And if you keep doing things the same way, things won't change for you and you're going to come up against these problems repeatedly. So I just wanted to sort of do this quick video, talk a little bit about systems within an exterior cleaning business or window cleaning business, and I hope you get some value out of it. Okay, so let's look at, for example, customer terms and conditions. So I mentioned in one of the previous videos that I've done about terms and conditions, T's and C's, etc. That is ultimately you laying out what you expect from the customer, what they can expect from you, and ultimately it ensures that you and your staff can go about your day, your business, ultimately in a stress-free, streamlined fashion as you can make it. Okay, so I would say to anybody who's talking about implementing the system, is at first, before you implement the system, you need to understand, you need to know for a fact what you want, okay? And then articulate it in your terms and conditions and put it to the customer. We always put our terms and conditions to the customer before we do anything in terms of signing them up or anything like that. So we get the inquiry, or we go out and gather a customer, etc. They agree, they want to sign up and all that sort of good stuff. We at that point then sort of put the T's and C's to them. Because here's the thing, you can agree a price, you can talk about what you're going to do as a job, etc., etc. If you do not put your T's and C's to the customer and something goes wrong, there is a legitimate claim from the customer to say, well, I didn't know that X, Y, and Z. You never told me X. So the thing is what you want to try and do is try and mitigate that excuse before it becomes an issue, okay? Because them turning around and saying, well, I didn't know, you never told me, is ultimately goes for a ball of chalk. If you've explained in advance what your terms and conditions are, then they've not got a leg to stand on, okay? It's as much about you streamlining your process, getting out of your business what you want, and ultimately, putting niff, naff and trivia to bed before it becomes a problem. Dealing with a problem before it happens, okay? So, another thing is you're talking about things like, customers that sort of, we explain in the T's and C's a number of things, okay? So we come and clean the windows every 4 weeks. We expect this to be every 4 weeks on the same day, okay? We clean the windows in all weathers, safety permitted. We do not accept, skips or cancellations due to weather. Okay. You'll get text messages the night before and after each clean. And ultimately, if there's a problem, you need to message or contact me, Chris, personally, and explain what the issue is so that we can remedy it. Okay. And that's, we also explain in the T's and C's that if, having been texted, the gate or the access is left locked or blocked, we will clean the windows that we can reach, but we will charge the full price to cover our costs, okay? And as I've mentioned in the past, you can't unburn diesel or unpay staff to go and do a job that they've asked for, okay? it is what it is. So we've always operated with that system in mind, okay? And obviously we've added things to it and we've refined things there, etc. You know, there's another thing we mentioned about cancellations. If you do decide to cancel the service, that's fine, but you need to give us plenty of notice, okay? Cancellations on the day will result in you being invoiced because you've not enabled us to bring other work forward or plan other bits and pieces. It's too late. We've already burned the diesel. We're already there. You know what I mean? And ultimately, you put that down in your T's and C's. It's perfectly reasonable for you to sort of, you know, dictate those terms and put it to the customer. Now, here's the thing. If the customer doesn't agree to those terms and conditions, then we just ultimately part company. We will not even get involved because they are not the sort of the person I want to deal with. I do not want to be having a bun fight with a customer over unpaid bills or you've skipped when you said you shouldn't have done and blah blah and they keep giving us grief and all that sort of stuff. I did not get into business to be ultimately dictated to by the customer. I did not get into business to be messed around by someone that doesn't value me or what we do, okay? So ultimately, we choose our customers and the customer can agree to those terms and conditions. We can welcome them on board, serve them well, do a good job, etc. But it's all down to whether they agree to operate within our framework. If they do, fantastic. If they don't, then we wish them well. They're not for us. So the whole issue over skipping cleans and stuff like that. If you've messaged a customer the night before and the customer says, "Oh, actually, Chris, can we skip tomorrow's clean?" You know, I hear people ask about how do you go about asking why and all that sort of stuff. Dead simple. I ask why. I just ask why. They've already agreed to the terms and conditions. They understand that we don't skip because of bad weather. So if their response is, "Oh, it's raining, we don't want them done when it rains," right, well, that's not what you agreed to at the very beginning of the process. And leave it with them. Give the problem back. You know, it's not about, systems are not about you taking on other people's problems. No. Systems are there to define what a problem is and whose problem it is, okay? In as much as it's there to make your life easier, yeah? If you tell a customer we don't accept skips for weather, and they ring you and say, "Actually, Chris, I want to skip because of X, Y, and Z," and it's the weather, you could turn around and say, "Well, actually, you agreed to the terms and conditions, so we do not skip because of weather." Okay, and I actually had that conversation day before yesterday. Customer was saying it's going to be a bit windy, and it's like, right, well, it's not a problem for us. We don't skip because of weather unless there's a safety issue. And if there is a safety issue, then we'll communicate with you in advance and say, "Look, it's not safe for us to work," etc. And we won't do. If there's a risk to life, I'm not going to clean your windows. But ultimately, if all it means is by me cleaning your windows, I'm going to get a bit wet, well, I've got a coat. I'll put a coat on. I'm northern. I'm good like that. Yeah. So skin's waterproof. I won't shrink. Don't worry. You know what I mean? So the thing is, you've agreed to those terms and conditions to say that we do not skip due to weather. That's that, right? And you leave it with them. The customer is then ultimately presented with a choice or two choices. You can either abide by the agreement or choose not to abide by the agreement. Not abiding by the agreement ultimately results in you not becoming a customer, not remaining a customer, because you can't run a business where your terms and conditions ultimately have no value. It's just pointless. You might as well go and get a job, because if you do not stand behind your terms and conditions and you do not enforce what you stand for and what you're prepared to put up with, then ultimately it's all going to go for a ball of chalk. So, I think when it comes to things like, I've mentioned in the past as well, where a customer has left their access locked, even though they've been messaged, then we will text them and we will do the windows we can reach, but we do charge the full price. It's there in the terms and conditions. If you put your terms and conditions to the customer, that's a system. This is how we operate. And it's the thing, they say, "Well, why do you do that?" You don't have to explain yourself. It's a policy. That is just, it's company policy. It is what it is. I don't think that's fair. And part of you think, you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't care if you think it's fair or not. You agree to it. It is fair because I put it to you at the very beginning, and you've agreed to it. I didn't hold a gun to your head. I didn't tell you that blackmail you into it. It was literally a case of, if this is how we operate, do you agree to the terms and conditions? Yes, right. Well, there you go then. This fairness has got nothing to do with it. We put the terms to you. You've agreed. Job done. That's it, right? But other things like, for example, your systems can also be for things like your workers and stuff like that. So, for example, Adam and Paul, if they go out and clean the windows, as a matter of course, which is what they do, if they go out and clean the windows, they'll do their jobs on the sheet according to a job sheet that's laid out. When they finished, they will then come back to where I'm based, my home, which is where the water system is. They'll unlock the garage, top the vehicle up. While they're doing that, they will drop any paperwork off or anything like that at the house, and then they will just, they'll cut away. They'll explain on the sheet, etc., who skipped, whys and wherefores, issues with certain jobs, things that didn't get done, and all that sort of stuff. There's a process in place, and it's there ultimately because I don't want to be that guy micromanaging my staff. You don't want to stand over them while they're doing their thing. You know what I mean? You lay out in advance in the handbook, so that's part of the contract of employment. We give them a contract and also a staff handbook, which HR Metis, our partners that do HR, they draw that up. So ultimately there is a process in place, what is expected of you, what they can expect from me, etc., and all that sort of good stuff. And it's a system, where it comes to things like payments, automating your payment system. A lot of people talk about Go Cardless. I have tried Go Cardless. I've had a bit of success with it. A few hiccups with it in the past where multiple payments have been taken when only single payment should have been taken, etc. I think they're all ironed out anyway, so we'll see how we go on with that. But ultimately, having a payment structure in place, i.e., they get a text message the night before to let them warn that we're coming. They can leave their gate open. They get another message when we've done. Okay. On that message is a link to an invoice, and at the bottom of that invoice is our bank details, so they can make manual bank transfers. We ask that the customer leave their reference, their address as reference, so that if, for example, you have 19 Mrs. Smiths on your sheet, they all don't live at the same frickin' house, I can assure you. So the thing is that what we do is we ask our customers to leave their address as reference so that we can distinguish between people with the same surname, etc. So, and yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell how that operates in terms of customer facing and employee facing systems, to be honest with you. But a lot of it is down to setting your stall out in the very beginning. Don't be ambiguous about how you operate. Do not expect customers to try and figure the shit out. Try and create a system which is ultimately idiot proof, so that even if you're a complete and utter moron, you can understand the principles, the framework. Yeah, they understand. They get a text message the night before. They understand how we operate. They understand what's going to happen if they leave their gate locked. They understand that if it rains, we put coats on and they're not to skip, etc. They understand that if there is a bereavement in the family, that is a completely legitimate reason to skip cleans. And I just wanted to mention that as well. Yes, you might have a system, but that does not mean it has to be so rigid that there is no room left or right. I will happily skip a clean for a customer if there is a bereavement in the family. Look, you've got to have compassion. End of the day, we've all got families. At least most of us have, right? So we have to understand that if something, God forbid, touch wood, happens to any of our families, that the people that we live our lives around would have a bit of compassion and sort of give you that space to sort of say, yeah, that's fine, no worries, don't worry about it. We'll see you in 4 weeks. Just let us know when you need us. If you need anything, give me a shout. So there's always flexibility. There's always nuances. There's always something that's not covered by the system. But the system is there to sort of mitigate problems. It's not there to sort of completely eliminate them. Okay, you've got to be flexible. You've got to be adaptable. Okay, but that's all I would say on that rather contrived bombshell. So hope you enjoyed the content that I put out. If you get some value out of the content that I do put out, I would really appreciate you sharing and subscribing to the channel. It helps get the message out to those that require it. Yeah, I'm about to embark, excuse the mess, I'm about to embark into the pub. Do a bit of admin in the afternoon in the pub, and then I will go home. I shall see you later. Keep on keeping on.